Okay. Welcome everyone to the January 23rd, 2024 meeting of the Town of Waterford Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a web-based meeting, so we are operating under the following procedures. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. The video recording will be available within 24 hours and will be posted on the Town of Waterford's Planning Department website. To ensure good sound quality, the default rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain on mute unless they are speaking. If an attendee creates an audio or video disruption, the Zoom moderator may place them on mute or remove them from the meeting if the disruption continues. We will not use the chat feature in this meeting. Public comment will only be accepted during the public hearing portion of the meeting. The chair will announce when the hearing is open and will ask for public comment. Public comment will not be accepted after the hearing is closed. We appreciate your attendance at this meeting. Should you have any questions about the process, you may call our staff at 860-444-5813 between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And with that, I turn over to the chair.
Okay, thank you. Before we go too far, I just want to let the public know if they are here for the public hearing, there was an issue or a concern that because it was on Zoom, there would be no public participation. That is not true. You will be able to address the commission through the Zoom this evening when that time comes. This meeting was requested by Zoom to be on Zoom by the applicant because of the applicant's team being spread out over a large area. And so we accommodated that request, but at no point will the public not be able to participate. So just wanted to put that out there right now. We have a full commission of Tim Condorino, Tim Bleasdale, Karen Burnett, Victor Eversole, and myself. So Bert and Doris, you'll be alternates this evening. Is there an approval of the December 12th meeting minutes?
I'll move that we approve the December 12th meeting minute.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Tim Bleasdale, seconded by Tim Condorino to approve the December 12th, 2023 meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, all in favor? And no opposed. Item number 3, application receipt. We are receiving PL 24-3, request of the Town of Waterford Board of Selectmen for municipal improvement in accordance with section 824 of the Connecticut General Statutes to purchase property located at 439 and 441 Boston Post Road. Action required by 227. I think there was another application receipt as well. I think I have the old agenda.
No, that's on the old agenda. That's the only application for receipt tonight.
I thought we were receiving the Goshen Road application.
That was received on January 9th. That's the that application was submitted and we canceled the January 9th meeting, but we were still use that date for official receipt.
Okay. John, was that on? I thought that was on an amended agenda that we were doing.
The 824 for Goshen Road is on tonight for review.
Right, so I think we have it written on here that it was the application was received on the 9th. So there must have been a miscommunication on my end to get that to put that on the agenda. I apologize.
Okay. All right. Item number 4, public hearing, request of Mondays LLC owner, 16-18 Boston Post Road Associates LLC owner, and 7 Hills Hospitality Group LLC applicant for a site plan special permit approval for a new hotel at 16-18 Boston Post Road and 295 and 313 Willits Avenue, CG zone, in accordance with sections 8.2.6 and 23 of the zoning regulations, and as shown on plans entitled Wood Spring Suites, 295 and 313 Willits Avenue, 16 and 18 Boston Post Road, Waterford, Connecticut, December 5th, 2023. Public hearing must close by 2:27. Do we have an exhibit list, or is that for
Yes.
after?
No, we have an exhibit list. That is the exhibits. Okay, exhibit 1 is the application, 8 pages. Exhibit 2, elevations and floor plans, 6 pages. Exhibit 3, site development plans entitled Wood Springs Suites, 295 and 313 Willis Avenue, 16 and 18 Boston Post Road, Waterford, Connecticut. Last revision December 5th, 2023, 20 pages. Exhibit 4, public hearing notice run in the Day newspaper, January 9th, 2024 and January 16th, 2024. Exhibit 5 is report of the Conservation Commission action, 4 pages. Exhibit 6, drainage calculations, hydraulics and hydrology report, August 2023, revised October 2nd, 2023. Exhibit 7 is a traffic report dated August 14, excuse me, 2023. Exhibit 8 is a statement of use. Exhibit 9, photometric plans. Exhibit 10, referral to the City of New London. Exhibit 11, certification of notice of public hearing. Exhibit 12, notice of public hearing to the applicant. Exhibit 13 is a publisher's certificate. Exhibit 14, site plan, revision date, January 16, 2024. Exhibit 15, email dated January 22nd, 2024 from Carl Cassio to John Mullen, AICP Director of Planning. That's it.
Okay, we can turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Great. Good evening. For the record, my name is Bill Sweeney. I'm a partner and a land use attorney with the law firm of Tobin Carberry in New London. And as always, I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you. I represent tonight Seven Hills Hospitality Group, which is an experienced hospitality and hotel development company based in Princeton, New Jersey. As you know, my client has submitted a special permit and site plan review application for the construction of a 122-room extended stay hotel located at 16 and 18 Boston Post Road and 295 and 313 Willits Avenue here in Waterford, Connecticut. Tonight, I'll also be addressing an outstanding zoning violation on this property, which will be resolved as part of this development. Joining me tonight as part of the team is Ellen Bartlett. She's a civil engineer with CLA Engineers. I also have with me Sean Kelly. Sean is a traffic engineer with Chappell Engineering Associates. I have Cullen Thompson and Ashley Flores. They're architects with BRR Architecture, and also Renita Summers and Mr. McFarlane, client representatives. As the commission likely recalls, we appeared before you back in November of 2023 at an informal pre-application workshop on this project. So we're going to try to be brief tonight, but this is a public hearing and we do have a responsibility to build a record. For the record, tonight, notice of this hearing has been provided to neighboring property owners, and certification of that notice has been provided to the commission as required by your zoning regulations. In addition, for the record, this project has been granted approval by the Conservation Commission, and earlier this afternoon, the Architectural Design Review Board did forward a favorable recommendation on the project to the P&Z Commission. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the project and hit a few highlights and provide you some key background. Ms. Bartlett's going to go over the project layout and engineering details. Mr. Kelly is going to share our traffic analysis with you. And then I'm going to review just very briefly our architectural design, and Mr. Thompson is going to sort of flesh that out and add any details that I might miss in my presentation. If I can share the screen with you, if somebody could activate that and give me screen sharing.
Okay. All right.
Give me 1 second. Everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Great. So this is an aerial photo of the project site. The area in the red perimeter is the project site. Our project site encompasses 4 adjacent parcels of land that are either vacant or have blighted buildings upon them. The project site is bounded by Boston Post Road on the north and Willits Avenue on the south. And this project site encompasses the 4 parcels. In total is about 4.5 acres of land. The site is surrounded by commercial uses on the north and a shopping center to the west. It has sort of a mixed-use neighborhood to the south. And then to the east is Mercer Field and an apartment complex as well. Just if I can page down and go to a photograph. This is a view of the property from the north. You can see it's sort of heavily overgrown, sort of dilapidated, there's a truck turnaround and there's a large wetland area here. This is from Boston Post Road and where the main entrance to the project will be. And then this is the view of the property from the south, which should be very familiar to everyone. This is where the old Mondays sort of nightclub and bar was. I think it was McNamara's after that. And there is an old sort of dilapidated and blighted house as well. The site sits on the town line with New London, and I certainly is not an attractive sort of gateway to the town of Waterford coming from the east from New London. Some commissioners are aware that this site property was also the site of some illegal dumping in the past. The property owner of the site did bring some spoils into the property from a dredging operation. They brought those spoils into the property without proper permits from the town of Waterford, and there was a zoning enforcement action brought by the town against the property owner for that. And that's been an ongoing matter. It's been going on for the last 3 years, and it's actually made its way into the court system. This project, and I'll talk about it in a second a little bit more, will resolve that matter finally after an extended period. Let me just stop sharing and bring up the site plan. Just bear with me for a second. So this is the overall site plan for the project. This entire site, the 4.5 acres, is all zone general commercial. And as you're aware, hotels are permitted by special permit in your general commercial zoning district, permitted by section 8.2.6 of your zoning regulations. As we discussed at the workshop that we had with you last fall, we are proposing a 22-room extended stay Wood Spring Suites hotel on the site. That is this sort of tan colored rectangular shaped building sort of central to the site. This will be professionally managed by a management company hired by the franchisee, which is our client. Wood Spring Suites is part of the Choice Hotels International Group, which is one of the largest and most successful lodging franchisors in the world. As we talked about at the workshop last year, the hotel industry as a whole took a really big hit after COVID, but the extended stay hotel model has really been one of the bright spots in the industry. And hotel customers in general have been looking for longer stays for a variety of different reasons. Extended stay hotels are being built throughout the country, and Wood Spring Suites is one of the leading brands in the extended stay arena. This extended stay facility that we're proposing meets or exceeds all the bulk and dimensional requirements for your general commercial district. It is almost 200 feet from Boston Post Road and about 150 feet from Willits Avenue, so it's significantly set back from both roadways. We have entrances from both roadways. The primary access is from Boston Post Road. We have a secondary access from Willits Avenue, and I know Ms. Bartlett will talk more about that in a moment. The project plans that you have before you tonight have been reviewed by all town department agencies And all of those comments have been reviewed. All those town departments have reviewed these plans and have provided comments, and we've addressed those, all comments to date. In addition, this project, as we develop it, we will be removing all of the spoils that were put on the property by the property owner. Those unpermitted spoils will be removed as part of the development of the site. We understand that this has been an ongoing issue for the town. And as part of our development of the site, we are committing to do that work. I know that that has been a major concern for the town. And so tonight I've talked with my client, and I want to commit on the record tonight that my client is willing to commit on the record that they will make sure that those spoils are removed within 90 days of approval of this project. All of those unpermitted spoils will be removed from this project site and properly disposed of off-site. These spoils have been tested. They're not contaminated soils, but they are organic soils. They're not suitable for construction materials. They're going to have to be carted off the site and disposed of properly elsewhere. We're committing to do that within 90 days of approvals, and that would be a condition of approval that we would suggest to the commission, and that we're certainly comfortable with this evening. We talked a little bit at the workshop with you this fall about the hotel itself. Again, this is an extended stay facility. We provide accommodations for longer stays, typically several weeks at a time. Each of the so-called rooms is really a suite. Each room includes a kitchenette. Each guest room has what we call enhanced design elements. We have quartz countertops, large 50-inch TVs. Some of the suites are deluxe with king beds. All of our suites are pet friendly. Our hotels, the extended stay hotels, have a fitness center. They have laundry services in the hotel. And really, WoodSpring Suites, they really cater to a business customer base. We have controlled access points. We have security cameras, key card access, safety lighting, trained staff. We have routine franchise inspections. And most importantly, we have significant financial reserves on the franchisee level to make sure that we can maintain and upkeep the facility, to really make sure that we can keep the rigorous standards of the flag, the WoodSpring Suites flag and the Choice International brand flag, so that this hotel will look as good 10, 20, 30 years from now as it will when it opens, hopefully in the near future. As I said, really WoodSpring Suites and extended stay hotels really cater to business, and they really cater to business travelers. The target audience is people that are on temporary work assignments, particularly in medical staffing, construction, engineering, education, and telecommunications industries. There's a reason why this extended stay hotel is being targeted for Waterford, and that's the growing workforce at the major employers, in the region. Places like EB, Pfizer, L&M, Dominion, and all of their associated subcontractors. That's why my client is looking to be a franchisee for WoodSpring Suites here in Waterford. We're really looking at that growing employee base, all of the subcontractors, all the workers coming into this area, all the people coming in for temporary work assignments. That's going to be the bread and butter. That's what's going to fuel the customer base for this hotel. Now, certainly there's additional guests that are going to stay at this hotel too. Those are transplants from other cities, people who are shopping for a new house, people who are visiting relatives, maybe people who are coming to work to help out for a week or two with a newborn or a grandparent, or people having a medical event, or maybe families that have a home damaged by a fire or weather. Those are the other people who make up the people who stay at extended stay hotels. But it really is a growing segment of the hotel market. It's something that we think is really, exciting. It's something that's new that we're bringing into the Waterford community. But what we're really excited about is this is a site that's really been an eyesore in Waterford for a long time. Well over a decade, we've had this sort of really ugly gateway into Waterford. I think it's particularly on Willets Avenue coming into the town. It's not been an attractive location. My client's really excited to be able to come in and bring in a significant reinvestment and really clean up a site with a tax-paying new development that really brings something special into town. We're excited to be a new community member, a responsible business member in this community, and we're excited about the project. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Ellen Bartlett to walk you through a little bit more about the project layout, particularly to talk about some of the engineering elements. After that, we'll talk about traffic, and then we'll get into the actual building design and go through that as well. But with that, I'll turn it over to Ellen.
Good evening. I'm Ellen Bartlett with CLA Engineers, and I'm the civil engineer for the project. As you just heard, the project has been
Ellen, could
previously
you hold on
developed and
Ellen, could you hold
contains
on one second, please?
several blighted buildings that are just unsightly.
Ellen, could you hold on one second?
Yes,
Okay, is it
yes.
me that has trouble hearing you, or is it your connection? Does anybody else have trouble with Ellen freezing?
Yes, trouble.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, can you hear me
Yeah.
now? Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a little delay in your talk, so I don't want to miss anything.
All right.
So
Okay. I'll start again.
okay,
The
great.
site is previously developed and contains unsightly abandoned buildings, all of which will be as part of this project, and the site will be replaced with the development of a brand new hotel if this is approved. The parking has been provided in accordance with the zoning regulations, 1 space per suite and 1 space per employee, for a total 129 parking spaces. The facility will have access from both Boston Post Road, which will be the main access road, and then there'll be a separate access onto Willett Street. This is having both access is preferable for safety reasons. For fire and ambulances, they prefer 2 access to a project of this size. The main entrance will be Boston Post Road. The sign for the hotel will be out on Boston Post Road. And also the address of the hotel will be 18 Boston Post Road. So when a customer puts it in their GPS, it's going to take them right to the main entrance. We've also added some speed bumps on the access from Willets Road, just to kind of deter drivers from using this entrance. As 4 stories to minimize the footprint on the site and to protect the wetlands and to allow maximum space for water quality basins and treatment. The site shows a 6-foot cut in the rear behind the building, so that the building will actually sit 6 feet lower than the field, the playing field, so it'll look lower. That will also minimize the view from Boston Road. And as we said, the building sits pretty far back from both streets. It's actually 180 feet back from Willets Avenue and 260 feet back from Boston Post Road. So it's not like most of the other buildings up and down both these streets that are sitting maybe 50 feet back or closer to the road. This is going to be set well back, and we're proposing an extensive landscape plan that was designed by a landscape architect from Beta Group. The landscape plans are shown on the site plans. They're sheets 6, 7, and 8. This color draw shows all the landscaping, but 6, 7, and 8 give you all the details, the specifications on the sizing and the species. The planting plan uses native plant species to enhance the building, to enhance the views from Boston Post Road, Willets Avenue, as well as we've provided buffers to the neighboring properties. Those will be evergreens so that they will be a buffer all year long. Extra care at the road entrances to the project. surrounding the building and to provide shrubs, trees, and perennials that will provide a nice display of color. And so there'll be different coloring on the site in the spring, in the summer, in the fall. The landscape will really make the site pop. The project will be served by public water and sewer. All utilities will come from Willits Avenue. We went to the Waterford Utility Department and they preferred it, all the utilities coming off of Willits Avenue and not Boston Post Road. We proposed an infiltration system out underneath the parking lot and building that all the roof drainage from the site and will contain and infiltrate higher runoff from the roof. There are 2 water quality basins proposed, which will serve as temporary sedimentation basins during construction. And then they will be permanent water quality basins life of the facility. During the construction phase, the temporary sed basins provide full wet and dry volume storage that exceed the requirements of the Connecticut guidelines for soil and sediment control. The temporary sed basins will provide 2 times the volume required by the state lines. Once construction completed, these basins will become permanent water quality basins, and they exceed the Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual, which is a manual for permanent facilities. These water quality basins will provide over 3 times the volume required by the manual. There'll be no flow leaving Basin 1, which is out by Willett Street, up to and including the 5-year design storm. And Basin 2, which is kind of in the middle of the site on the western side, will contain up to including the 25-year design storm event. So all these big storms that we've been having, just over-design these basins. We're just finding that storming more frequently and larger. So we're over-designing everything, so we will not have a problem in the future. These 2 basins are designed will provide for a significant decrease in stormwater leaving the site. Therefore, the project will not adversely impact the existing drainage systems in Willits Avenue. Both basins will be completely enclosed with a 4-foot decorative fence, a locked security gate, which will allow access to the basins for maintenance. Plans also call for metal guardrails between the parking lots and basins as a safety issue. This time, I think we should talk about the traffic from the site. It's kind of all tied into what I've been discussing.
Thank you, Ellen. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. For the record, Sean Kelly with Chapel Engineering. On behalf of the development team, thank you again for having us before you tonight. If it pleases the commission, what I'd like to do is I prepared a brief presentation to walk you through our traffic study, how it was conducted, what our findings were, what our recommendations are. Then I'd be happy to answer any questions that members of the commission or audience might have, if that makes sense. I'm going to try to share my screen. I think I need to get being able to share.
All right. Okay.
All right, let's see. Want to see this okay?
Yes.
Great. So I think Ellen did a really good job of explaining the project site. And again, it's a 122 room hotel, 131 parking spaces. The location of the site is shown in this dashed out area. Again, access is proposed, both onto Route 1 Boston Post Road, which is under Connecticut DOT jurisdiction, as well as a secondary access onto Willits Avenue. The first stage of our work was we went out and did some traffic counts. We looked at existing conditions. We focus on what we call the AM and PM commuter hours. Those are when the traffic volumes along the corridor are busiest. Typically that's 7 to 9 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the evening. We did speak with planning staff that indicated that we should also take a look at that 3 to 4 hour on Willits, when some of the shift employees are heavier. So we did that as well. And those volumes were all collected. Again, Route 1 at Willits. We looked at Willits at Clement Street, which would be the fourth leg of the proposed driveway. And then also Route 1 at Strasburg Road in the Waterfall Place Shopping Center. Based on the counts that we did today, the volumes are heavier in the PM peak than the AM peak. During the AM, both Boston Post Road, Route 1 and Willits Avenue carry about 650 to 750 vehicles an hour. That's two-way flow, east and westbound. In the evening, those volumes rise to about 950 to 1100, where Route 1's a little bit busier. As you can see, in terms of the distribution of traffic, it's fairly 50-50 in terms of eastbound and westbound. So there's really no heavy flow in either direction during either peak period. In conjunction with the data collection effort, we also took a look at the vehicle speeds out there. Boston Post Road, where the access is proposed, is a 30-mile-an-hour road. Willits Avenue is also 30. It drops to 25 a little further east. What we found with the average speeds on Willits were fairly consistent with the speed limit, 30 to 31. Route 1 was a little higher, 33 to 34. When we do our analysis of required sight lines, what we utilize is what's called the 85th percentile speed. And those speeds, as you can see, were a little higher, 36 to 38 on Route 1, and then 33 to 35 on Willits. So those are the speeds we use for design. In terms of the future condition, we do a couple of things. First, the counts that we collected, we adjust upwards to reflect growth in traffic, and really there were three factors there. First, we seasonally adjust the counts to peak month conditions, so we're looking at the busiest month. Second, we adjust the volumes to account for growth in traffic, background developments that are either too small to identify or just general background growth. And third, we add in traffic associated with specific projects. And there are a lot of residential units proposed on Willits Avenue. When we took those volumes from the respective studies and included those into the analyses. So all of that's accounted for in terms of our projections of traffic into the future. I'll get into also that there are some improvements proposed in conjunction with one of the residential developments on Willits that we've also accounted for. With respect to the project itself, we rely on data that's published by what's known as the Institute of Transportation Engineers, or the ITE. And the ITE provides data for a whole host of land use codes. For this particular project, it's land use code 311, all suites hotel, which is the most appropriate data. And what that tells us is that on a daily basis, a hotel of this size typically does 540 trips. So that would be 270 in and 270 out. And this is over the course of an entire 24-hour day. So it includes all the employee trips, delivery trips, guest trips, things of that nature, housekeeping, you name it. It's all baked into the numbers, because the way they develop these numbers is they actually count operational facilities and then develop rates. So you can predict what a hotel of a certain size would generate. During the AM and PM peak hours, which is really what we drill down on because that's the critical impact period, the project does about 41 trips in the AM peak hour and 44 trips in the PM peak hour, ballpark about 20 vehicles coming and 20 vehicles going. And this is, again, in that busy 1 hour period. Certainly there will be some, if the busiest hour is say 8 to 9 in the morning, there will be some trips from 7 to 8, there'll be trips from 9 to 10. But what we do is we look at the worst case scenario, which is that busiest hour. Then we superimpose the peak hour of the traffic for the project on top of that. So it creates that worst case simultaneous scenario where you have the busiest traffic that's out there today, plus the traffic associated with the project. Based on existing patterns that we talked about, it's a pretty much a 50-50 split. We do expect most of the traffic is going to come in the Route 1 access. That'll be the address of the hotel, and it really does carry more of the commuter traffic. Willits Avenue certainly carries a lot of shift traffic from local employers. So when you break it out, these are the actual increases in terms of new vehicle trips per hour. As you can see on Route 1, you're looking at 8 vehicles making a right turn in, 8 vehicles making a left in, 7 making a left out, 7 making a right out. When you get down to the Willits Avenue driveway, it's even lower. You're looking at 2 to 3. During the PM peak, the volumes are fairly consistent. Again, you've got 8 in and out either direction on Route 1, and then again that 3 or less on the Willits Avenue. So In terms of actual increases in traffic on either side of Route 1, in terms of vehicles per direction, you're looking at a new vehicle every 8 to 9 minutes. And then when you get down to Willits, those volumes are even lower. You're talking about one new trip typically every 15 to 20 minutes. So these aren't significant increases, particularly given the level of traffic that are on these corridors today. As I mentioned, there are improvements that are proposed in conjunction with the Waterford Central residential development. As we understand it, this is a condition of their approval. So that project, whose traffic we have incorporated, needs to build these improvements in order to open. So that, in a nutshell, what they're looking to do is on the Willis Avenue northbound approach to Route 1. Today it's a one-lane approach, and as you know, when the traffic gets out, when shift traffic gets out, and you have those heavy flows, oftentimes the queuing along Willits Avenue can get fairly extensive. Extend all well beyond the gas station and further down the corridor. This plan basically allows for 2 lanes to make those turns from, allows for some modifications to the signal timing to optimize timing, and it really improves operations and cuts down that queue. Again, worth noting that the level of volume that we are going to put into that queue during the busiest hours is 3 or less vehicles per hour. So we're talking about a car every 20 minutes. So whether the improvements are there or not, the increase in traffic from this project is very minimal. But certainly when those improvements are done by others, it'll make it work better. So in conclusion, based on the study that we've conducted, the project's increases in traffic are fairly minimal. You're talking about a 1 to 2% increase in traffic during peak hours. This level of increase typically isn't something that the average motorist would notice, seeing one additional car every 15 to 20 minutes, for instance, along Willits Avenue. The project-related traffic results in no notable impact to operations. In terms of the increases in delays, it's less than 1 second, which is typically not perceivable to most motorists at a signalized location. There were no safety deficiencies identified. Both driveway locations, once the vegetation that's there today is cleared, provide sufficient sight lines to meet the minimum required sight distances as established by the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, or AASHTO. We've looked at the proposed parking supply, which again meets your zoning requirement. It also meets the requirements as established by the Institute of Transportation Engineers based on data in their parking demand manual. We've recommended that all signs and pavement markings that are designed and implemented on site should adhere to Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or MUTCD design criteria. This includes pavement markings, signs, center lines, things of that nature. Any signage or vegetation, and we've had site distances, shown in the plans, should be outside the site triangles. In other words, when a vehicle is leaving the site, they should be able to look left and right and have no obstructions, whether it be, signage for the hotel or landscaping. It should all be low enough in height or just not in that area to make sure those sight lines are maintained. And then lastly, just worth noting, I think that, this project will require a driveway permit from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, so that the state engineers will also be reviewing this project in terms of ensuring it's in conformance with all, state and industry guidelines. So there is another entity reviewing this work, at the state level. And that's really all I have for tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions that either members of the commission or members of the audience might have. Thank you.
Can we have the screen back, Mark?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Mr. Sweeney, do you have anything else? Mr. Sweeney, do you have anything?
Yes, if I could just get screen sharing back and just put up the architecture quickly.
Okay.
Thank you. So we're just going to finish tonight just with the actual building itself. So the building, the itself is the Wood Spring Suites model. This is the basic prototype, but it's been upgraded with comments from your planners. We have been working on this project for the better part of a year. And actually, the initial meetings that Seven Hills had with the town actually predate my involvement. There is a series of prototypes that Wood Spring Suites use. There were some initial meetings and with the town, with Mark and John, and there was some requests for some additional articulation and some more New England feel to the building, which BRR provided some additional tweaks to the building. And so I'll let Mr. Thompson talk about that in a second, but I'll just walk you quickly through the designs and then let Cullen talk a little bit as well. So this is sort of the front elevation sort of rendering of the building. This is if you were coming in off of Boston Post Road on the main entrance, this would be the front of the building off to your left. If you were coming from Willits Avenue and you were looking right, this would be what you would see. You can see that it's a 4-story building. There are a variety of different materials that are being used in the building. We've got a stone veneer on the first floor, and then we have fiber cement used on the siding in a variety of different colors and also textures. So we have some sort of clapboard lap siding. And then we have some shake shingle as well, and we have it in a variety of different colors. We'll show you some different ones that show a little bit better the color tones, but this is a more gray. It doesn't show as well on this one. This is a gray in the middle, and then a more white or beige up above, and then a more sort of wood tone here. And then again, on the water table, sort of stone veneer on the lower level. I'll move here. Notice also that we've got sort of faux shutters as well. We have sort of the dormers or the faux dormers that were added at the request of the town to try to create a little bit more of a New England feel. And again, some of the features here to get a little bit more of a New England or shoreline aesthetic. Here's a sort of a blow up of the front entrance with the entrance doors as well. And again, just a little bit of a close up of the different textures. See also that we've got a little bit of articulation. We don't have a single sort of straight front, but we have some back and forth in the front of the building to create some shadows and a little bit of depth in the front of the building. And again, these are all fiber cement materials. We don't have to worry about peeling paint or materials that are going to age poorly. These are going to be highly durable materials. Materials that are going to look well, they're easy to maintain, they're going to look good 10, 20, 30 years from now as well. Here is sort of the elevation rendering of the front, just showing that the 40-foot roof line measurement to the middle of the gable, that is the height requirement in the zone. And just to zoom in to show a little bit better here, some of the color differences. It's really a gray palette in the center here. We have sort of the more cream or white up above. We've got asphalt shingles, again, the stone veneer down below. And again, just trying to create some color differences and also some texture differences on the front of the building. Here's one of the ends of the building. Again, just trying to show the difference in materials, types of material, and the patterns of material and colors of material as well. And then here is the back of the building. The back of the building would be facing Mercer Field. And so that's what you would see if you were on Mercer Field looking into the site. And again, the other end cap of the building as well. We also have some floor plans as well. And I'm not sure if you're not terribly interested in these, or sort of not extremely exciting, but you can see that we've got this is the first floor down below. We've got the central lobby, the fitness area, the guest laundry. As I said before, there's laundry services in the building. We've got a sort of a hall and vending area, registration desk, elevator core here. And the second floor, you can see that it's sort of the long hallway with the double stacked rooms. And then the third and the fourth floor are sort of identical. And I think I showed at the workshop something very similar to this, sort of the floor plan, sort of that's prototypical. Cullen Thompson from BRR and Ashley Flores are here. I don't know, Cullen, if you want to add a little bit more color to anything I said, or if you wanted to add anything or I missed anything to what I've provided, feel free to jump in now, and I can certainly jump back to any pages if you want to jump on and add anything to what I've said already.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Bill. If you could actually go to the elevation sheet, I think that helps convey a lot. Like Bill mentioned, the primary materials that we're proposing are all really durable exterior materials to really prevent any kind of weather degradation of the exterior facade, make sure that maintenance is a concern and really upholds the visual of the building. So like Bill mentioned, our first ground story pedestrian scale material is proposed to be a stone veneer product that'll add both some texture and some warmth to the building facade. Above that, we are proposing that fiber cement lap siding, which is that gray tone, and then the shake siding, which is also actually a fiber cement product. So again, a real focus on durability. Like Bill mentioned, we got some feedback from the jurisdiction, and I've really worked to integrate in a lot of New England, Northeastern aesthetical components, including those shutters, the faux dormers that'll be on the roof line, again, to provide a little bit of variety of texture, facades, and really make the design more contextual and fitting in with the vernacular style of the region. So I don't think I have a whole lot more than that, but would be happy to answer any questions that either the commission or any members of the public that are in attendance may have.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Mr. Sweeney, before we get into any questions?
Just want to thank the commission for their time tonight, and I would leave you with this. I think, from my perspective, the most important thing to take away from our presentation, Mr. Chairman, in addition to resolving this sort of ongoing multi-year zoning issue you've had on this property, which we're committed to doing tonight, from my perspective, this is an amazing opportunity to take what I see as an ugly and blighted property in the community and allow an outside developer to come in and clean that up with a well-designed commercial project, which represents a significant investment into Waterford. And I think what we are presenting is a perfect example of responsible infill redevelopment, where you go into an existing commercial corridor and you, instead of taking a green field, going into an area that's already been redeveloped and reinvesting and bringing it back to life. And I think that's what the plan of development calls for. I think it's what it encourages. I think this is a great example of it. I think this is exactly the type of project that the commission is supposed to encourage. I hope it's a catalyst for other development. I was talking with one of our team members who's already been contacted by a neighboring property owner earlier today, who is excited about this project and wants to look at redeveloping their property if this hotel project goes through. I think this is exactly the kind of project that this commission should get behind. Again, I thank you for your time and attention tonight, and we certainly would be happy to answer any questions the commission has or that of those of the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we get into, you're going to be here for the public hearing, so we can ask questions after, right, John?
Correct.
Or Marker?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't want to have the public wait any longer if there is somebody here to address the commission. So if there is anyone here to address the commission on this issue, if you could use the raised hand feature of Zoom so we can see you.
All right.
I have a few questions, if you can
Okay,
hear.
wait a minute, hold on, please. Who is this?
My name's Carl Cascio. I live at 50
Okay.
Myrock Avenue.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Mr. Cashin.
It's clear that the town and the developers know that there's a traffic issue on Willits Avenue during rush hour. And as it was alluded, EB is hiring, as other contractors are hiring. So that traffic problem is going to get worse, irrespective of building this hotel. And I want to make it clear that I like the idea of the hotel, but I want the traffic problem fixed. I mean, if we look at what's going on, Waterford Woods is filling out and using that same traffic trip planning manual, they're going to have some 430 trips a day. Waterford Central Apartments is going to have some 982 trips a day. The hotel is currently saying they're going to have 540, but that's an average condition. When that hotel is full, that number will go up to 761 trips. And, that's probably what's going to happen during the summertime when it's popular to be around this part of the country. So I think the town should consider letting the hotel build that access to Willits Avenue, but not letting them use it until this development that's somehow going to be done by other people actually is implemented and makes the traffic problem go away. I mean, if they want, they can put up a gate or a chain or whatever so that the safety issue goes away. And that's pretty much what Waterford Central did to their access to Myrick Avenue. I mean, they have access, but it's blocked until it becomes necessary. So I think this is a serious issue. I mean, we've had problems long before these developments, and everything that the developer is talking about in making this a better place is going to happen. And there's going to be more traffic from the employers that hiring people. And there's going to be a lot more traffic from these two residential developments. So I would recommend the town look at this seriously and do more than just put a notice that they can't put a sign up. I mean, that's not going to help. I mean, speed bumps is a better idea than a sign or not a sign. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, and hopefully you guys will think a little bit about the traffic problem. Thank you.
I see someone who's, well, thank you, Mr. Casher. You didn't hear me say that, but the next person I see is labeled a Mrs. Gualtieri. You're on mute right now.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we had a couple of concerns. One thing that Carl was mentioning was traffic issues. Down here on Willits, people speed all the time. I don't know where the average mile per hour speed was taken from. Maybe going down towards the stoplight, they put in a radar thing letting people know their speed. Through here, trying to leave, I'm right next to where the development's projected to be. And it's hard to get out of my driveway because of how fast people go through here. We almost get hit many times. People go into the oncoming lane to get around you. The majority of the parking for the hotel is going to be on the Willits side. So I think it would be unrealistic to think most people will use Boston Post Road opposed to Willits. A couple of concerns that I have with the hotel is just it's being projected to be for people working at EB and for professionals. But I do travel for my company from time to time. One thing is they give money for you to be able to eat. I've never bought groceries when I was on the road for a company, came home and cooked them. The fact that this has a kitchenette and pet friendly kind of looks to me that it's going to be long-term housing for people, that's really what it's going to do in an area where we have a good amount of transient population. We do have a lot of drug use. We have prostitution. There's a lot of those issues in this area that I'm concerned about the crime increase, especially as time goes on. So I don't know if these things are being considered by the town, if these are things that are somehow can be addressed. And there's a lot of unknowns, and my concern would be those couple of things is that if it's for professionals to have the kitchenette and pet friendly, it doesn't seem like it's really set up for that.
Okay. Are there any other comments that you have? And if you could, just for the record, if you could state your name and address. And
yeah, Nicholas Gualtieri, 320 Willits Ave, Waterford, Connecticut.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to address the commission on this application? I don't see anyone with a hand raised. If there is, if you want to just say you'd like to speak. Okay, so I'm just going to ask 3 times if there is anybody else who wants to speak on this. So is there any member of the public who would like to address the commission with respect to PL 23-16, request of Mondays LLC, owner 1618 Boston Post Road Associates LLC, owner 7 Hills Hospitality Group LLC, applicant for a site plan special permit approval for a new hotel at 1618 Boston Post Road and 295-313 Willits Avenue, CG zone, in accordance with sections 8.2.6 and 23 of the zoning regulations. Is there any member of the public who would like to address PL 23-16, request of Mondays LLC, owner 1618 Boston Post Road Associates LLC, owner in 7 Hills Hospitality Group LLC applicant for a site plan special permit approval for a new hotel at 1618 Boston Post Road and 295 and 313 Willits Avenue, CG zone, in accordance with sections 8.2.6 and 23 of the zoning regulations. And I'll just ask a third time. Is there any member of the public who would like to address the commission with respect to PL-23-16, request of Mondays LLC owner, 1618 Boston Post Road Associates LLC owner, and Seven Hills Hospitality Group LLC applicant for a site plan special permit approval for new hotel at 16 and 18 Boston Post Road and 295 and 313 Willits Avenue, CG zone, in accordance with sections 8.2.6 and 23 of the zoning regulations. Seeing no one else would like to address the commission, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Could I provide rebuttal to the public comment, Mr. Chairman?
I was going to let you. Do we have to do that before the public hearing is over?
I don't think, I can't
Yes.
talk if the public hearing is closed, so I think I have to
Okay.
do it when the public hearing is open, if that's okay. And
Yeah.
if the commission has questions, I think I have to do that while the public hearing is open too.
Okay.
I'd like to respond to the Gualtieris and Mr. Cassio too. If I could just, in terms of the Gualtieris comments, I've been doing land use representation for the better part of 25 years, and it's not uncommon to have people get up and complain about speeding. It's an issue in every neighborhood. The bottom line is speeding is an issue that people deal with everywhere. It's not an issue for zoning, it's an issue for the police department. And there are always speeders. So, I would encourage the Gualtieris, if they're concerned about speeding in their neighborhood, to contact the police department and express their concern about that. And it's a real issue. It's a safety issue. That's why if you looked at the traffic report that Mr. Kelly shared, there's a speed limit, but our 85th percentile that we use for sightline was above the speed limit. That's because people speed. And so we register that, we take account of that, and we design for the fact that people go faster than the speed limit. Our client base is business class. There is the allowance for pets because we deal with people who are out of their homes because of flooding or because of a fire, and they may have a dog or a cat with them for a period of time. So we do allow pets in the building, but we do not allow long-term housing. We are not that kind of housing hotel. That was an issue during the workshop. And I know, I think the chairman expressed that concern during the workshop last fall. And we talked about that at length at the workshop. That's not the kind of hotel we run. We went into great detail in the November workshop regarding that. Our primary business focus is business class customers. That's what our sort of bread and butter is at Woodspring Suites. That is what the franchisee is focused on, and what is the industry that we're targeting. In terms of Mr. Cassio's comments, I certainly appreciate them. I would take issue with his characterization of Mr. Kelly's testimony. There is certainly traffic on Willits Avenue. At no time did Mr. Kelly testify that there is a traffic problem or there is a traffic safety issue on Willits Avenue. There is traffic on Willits Avenue. There's traffic on Boston Post Road. There's traffic in this area. Traffic is actually a sign of a functioning commercial activity. It's the sign of a functioning economy. And so what we want to make sure is that our traffic is safe. There is no evidence that there's a safety issue on Willits Avenue, and there is no basis to prevent access from our site to Willits Avenue. In fact, the testimony that Mr. Kelly gave the commission was that our hotel project will generate one car every 20 minutes during the peak hour to Willits Avenue. That's one car every 20 minutes. That's an infinitesimal amount of additional traffic. to Willits Avenue. So I appreciate his concern about traffic. It's certainly something that needs to be monitored so there isn't a safety issue or a safety problem in the future. And certainly I know this commission is concerned about that. The commission always looks at those issues going forward, but this project does not propose a safety issue. There's nothing in the record to suggest that. And this project, there's nothing in the traffic analysis to suggest that. There's nothing in Mr. Kelly's testimony to suggest that. And I would just submit that in rebuttal to his comments. My team is completely available if any of the commissioners have any comments or any additional questions about any aspect of the project, whether it be some of the engineering questions, if it be questions about traffic, if they want to ask questions about architecture, if they want to ask questions about removing spoils, we're available to you. The one thing is once you close the public hearing, we can't talk with you. So if you want to close the public hearing, that's up to you, but then the communication back and forth with us has to stop at that point. So we're available if you want to talk. If not, you can go ahead and close the public hearing. But thank you again for your time tonight.
Thank you. Does any member of the commission have any questions for any of the applicant's team? Karen?
This is Karen. I have one question.
Go ahead.
Does the applicant have a proposed date that the hotel be completed that we could?
I'm having a really hard time hearing Miss Barnett. I don't know if it's my connection, but she's breaking up a lot. I think she asked something about a time of completion, I think, but I couldn't really make it out.
Yes,
Karen,
I was just curious
There you go.
if your application were to be approved, in this time frame, what is the projection for how long it would take for you to complete it? I'm curious in regards to the traffic and the check.
Karen, we have a little difficulty finishing that last sentence. Hearing you.
Mr. Chairman, I could ask Renita Summers, who is a representative of my client, to address the commission and talk a little bit about projected timelines, if that might answer Ms. Barnett's question. I think that's the question she's asking.
Sure, let's try that and see.
Okay, that's what it sounded. That was the part that I got.
If you could just, for the record, because this is a public hearing, Renita, if you could just give your name, your full name and your affiliation for the record.
Okay. I am Renita Summers. I'm a development manager for Seven Hills Hospitality Group. And the construction schedule on this project is between 11 and 12 months. So you would add probably a year to however many months it would take us to get to building permit. We usually mobilize within 30 days after a building permit.
Okay. Karen, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Tim Condorino?
Yeah, thank you. I have a quick question in reference. First, I guess I would like to say that I think that the project is a compliment to town. I agree with Mr. Sweeney in several instances about the improvement coming into town and so on. My main concern is traffic as well. Having sat on the meetings with the other development in the area and knowing that there's pending work on the state side to improve what they interpret as a problem, I'm concerned, one, if that work wasn't completed, I don't believe that we should be adding any more traffic to Willits than what we have already. I guess my second question would be, if the Willits Avenue access was removed, would it be possible to still approve this project with just Boston Post based on a traffic concern only? In other words, if we took Willits off and perhaps made that only for emergency access, would this project still be acceptable with one entrance on Boston Post?
Let me, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kelly, who's our traffic engineer, to address that issue and to give you our position as to the necessity of the Willits Avenue entrance and why we believe that it's not only necessary, but it's prudent to have the Willits Avenue entrance for safety and emergency access.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's right. I mean, certainly having two access points is superior in terms of access for emergency safety vehicles. If this project were to advance, prior to the residential development being done and those improvements being done, I think that the key thing to keep in mind is that, we wouldn't have their traffic either. So certainly what's out there today would still be there, but our additional impact would still be that 3 vehicle per hour number. Frankly, between 3 vehicles per hour, it falls within what we would call daily fluctuation. If you counted Willits Avenue during the PM peak today, tomorrow, the next day, it's gonna vary by more than 3 vehicles every day. So the additional traffic this project generates, really, it's almost not measurable. If someone sat up for 20 minutes, they wouldn't know if 175 cars went by or 176 cars went by, and that's the level of increase we're talking about. So what I would say is that while those improvements, from Willits to Route 1 are important, and they certainly are going to make things better from a operation standpoint, they're really being implemented to mitigate the impact of the much more impactful, larger, multi-hundred unit residential development. And if those improvements aren't there, then that traffic's not there, and we're just adding 3 cars onto what's basically out there today. I mean, with an extended stay hotel, my sense is that motorists are going to figure things out if they're staying for multiple days pretty quickly. And if this project were to move forward for whatever reason before the residential project was completed and before those improvements were done, and someone went out Willits and happened to get onto the westbound barrel of Willits Avenue, coincident with some of the employee shifts that you see out there that cause the major queuing, I think they're going to figure out pretty quickly that, at 3:30 in the afternoon, I'm better off making a left onto Route 1 because I'm not going to have to, get stuck in that queue. So, they may do it once, but where it's an extended stay hotel and these people are staying for a long period of time, they're probably going to figure out after they sit in that queue once, if this project again did, I'd say, leapfrog the residential and came first, that at 3:30, I don't want to go out Willits Avenue. I want to go out onto Route 1 instead. But during other hours of the day, it might be more convenient to use Willits. If you're, coming north on, is it 213, and would you want to go all the way up to Route 1 or make the left on the Willits and have a more convenient route in? So, it is a benefit. Again, there's no safety issues. I don't think I mentioned it, but I would point out that, we actually looked at the motor vehicle crash history out there as well. The driveway location wants to come in basically directly across from Clements, which exists today. And we did take a look at the police records to see how many crashes were out there and see if there was any safety issues in terms of motor vehicle crash history. And there was only 1 crash reported by the police over the last 5 years. It was a single car crash where a driver actually swerved off the road to avoid hitting a squirrel. But aside from that, there's no angle collisions with people coming off of the side streets. So there's really no data out there that supports any issues in terms of a safety deficiency. So the impact is what it is. It's 3 cars in each direction. It's a car every 20 minutes. If the residential improvements are done, it'll certainly make things work better. But even if this project came first, the impacts are just they're so low, the average motorist wouldn't notice it in terms of any difference in traffic from one day to the next.
Okay. Tim, any follow-up?
Just as far as would the project be sustainable without Willits Avenue from a traffic standpoint? In other words, would the state of Connecticut allow you to put all the traffic on Route 1 for this project?
Yeah. I mean, we haven't presented that plan to Connecticut DOT. I couldn't answer that question for them. The plan that's before the state right now has both access drives.
And the only other thing I'm confused, you use the number 540 vehicles a day, and you're saying 3 vehicles per hour. That comes to 72 per day. So what's the discrepancy between the two there?
Well, the 3 vehicles per hour is the largest increase you would see on either segment of Willits. So you have 540 vehicles a day, but that's 270 in and 270 out. And then out of those 270 in and out, about a third of them use Willits versus 2/3 up on Route 1. So when you break it down into the actual hourly flow, it gets down to 3 vehicles per hour. But the 540, you got to keep it. That's a 24-hour volume. That includes everything from the cleaning people showing up at 5 a.m. for their shift, and then people leaving at lunch. I mean, all it includes the entire spectrum from midnight till midnight the next day. When we look at the peak hours, that's the one busy hour during the morning and evening, and that's really the important number, which isn't 540 trips. It's 40 to 44 trips, the bulk of which are on Route 1. Then you have some that go to Willits, and then some on Willits are going to go east, some are going to go west, some are going to be arriving, some are going to be departing. And when you basically cut that up to 15% and divide it by 2 for each direction, you get 3 vehicles an hour on Willits itself.
Hypothetically. But we truly don't know which way people will leave. We're
based on accepted industry data that's based on empirical data collected at many sites, many hotel sites. So this isn't just a theoretical exercise. The way that they just establish these rates is they go to a hotel and they count it. They put cameras or road tubes out, and they count how many cars come and go over the course of a day and how many cars come and go over the course of an hour during the busy hours. And then based on the number of rooms, you create what we call trip generation rates. That says for a hotel of this type, for every room, it's going to generate X number of trips daily and X number of trips during the peak. You apply that times 122 rooms, and that's how you get your number. So these are all based on science and data collected at operational facilities. It's not based on a hypothetical model. It's based on real hard data collected at hotels that are operational today.
It's actually statistical analysis, right, Mr. Kelly?
That's correct.
No, I understand where your numbers came from. I mean, as to whether the cars are going to turn on Willits or onto Route 1, we don't have data to say. There's nothing to tell us where the cars are going to turn. Is that correct?
Right. We've assumed more on Route 1 because that's the state route, and has that'll be their main address if you were to look it up online. The volumes on Willits, again, there's a lot of commuter flow on there that uses that to get to and from Route 1. So while those volumes are higher, I don't think it's necessarily as much of a commuter route for regional traffic as Route 1 would be. But we're still dealing with very small numbers. The 8, 7, and 3 are even if we were off by a 10% and it went to 4 vehicles, vehicle every 15 minutes, it's still in that range where it's very, very small and likely not noticeable by the average motorist.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
Doris has her hand up.
Yep, I'll get to her. Does Victor have any questions?
I don't have any questions, Greg.
Okay. 1 second, Doris. Is Tim Bleasdale?
Yeah, I don't have anything at this point, Greg.
Okay. Doris?
Hi, I do have a question in regards to Willits Avenue. If this were approved, would it be possible to just make the Willits Avenue entrance just for emergency vehicles?
I mean, I can try to answer that question. I mean, I don't think that, I guess the answer to your question is anything's possible, but there's no rational basis for that in the testimony that you've heard and that's been presented. I think you have a traffic expert who's testified tonight and who's submitted evidence to you that has told you that there is no traffic safety issue on Willits, and that the amount of traffic that would be coming out of the entrance onto Willits is infinitesimal. It is basically within the variation that you would see if you counted the amount of traffic going down Willits with or without the hotel on any given day. So the question you're asking is, could you make it emergency access? Make it an emergency access? The answer is yes, potentially, but for what end? There's no rational basis to do that. There's nothing to be gained by that. And there's no reason to do that, I guess. There's nothing in the record to suggest that that needs to be done to address any issue. There's no issue that's been identified in the record that needs to be addressed. There's no safety concern that has been raised other than a concern from a neighbor that has said that there's a concern about traffic. The expert and the expert testimony that's in the record has suggested that there is no traffic issue on Willits and that there is no concern with traffic entering and accessing the site from Willits. So I guess the answer to your question is yes, it could be emergency access only, but I think on behalf of my applicant, we don't see a need to do that. The traffic generated from this site is not sufficient or significant enough to really warrant it.
Doris, any follow-up?
No.
Okay. Bert, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. And can you hear me okay? Because I'm a little bit far from my computer.
I can hear you okay, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. First questions to Attorney Sweeney. Apologies if I missed it. You mentioned, I believe it was 26 Boston Post Road with a property line issue. What was the solution that you had for that?
Was it a property line issue? There's no property line issue that I'm aware of. There was a zoning enforcement issue on one of the Willett Avenue properties. Is that what you're referring to?
No, sorry, I know this is making noise.
That's okay.
I thought in one of the existing condition charts, it showed that I believe it's a house on, I think it was 26 Boston Post Road, encroached onto your property. And I wanted to know if there was going to be some resolution for that.
Hold on just one second. I believe there might be a shed encroachment on one of the properties. Is that what you're talking?
Sheet 1B. And there's no way for me to interpret. There's a picture with an existing building on page 1B of your plans.
Yep, let me get to it. I'll get to it right now.
And there's a rectangular box that points down toward the side of your property that says building encroachment.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to know, is that something that you guys are going to address?
Yeah, so it is not uncommon, especially here in southeastern Connecticut, where you have old properties and older buildings, that you may find that after survey that an adjacent building may have an apparent encroachment over a surveyed property line. So the adjacent property, which is not part of the actual property of the project, appears to a very, very small sliver of the property appears to encroach over the surveyed property line. That is an encroachment onto the property. It is not something that needs to be addressed at this time. It is an encroachment that my client's contract attorney and title company will need to deal with if they decide to deal with it at all. Typically, there are exceptions to title that are taken on those issues. There are issues of adverse possession that may come into play on something like that. I'm not the title attorney on this transaction. I'm the land use attorney, so I can't speak in great detail on it, but it is not uncommon, particularly in New London County, on deals like this, where you may have a very old building, and I know that building's old, that may encroach a foot or two over a property line onto another property, and as it's labeled here, there's an apparent building encroachment. That's not uncommon. I don't think it is. I don't know what to say other than that. It's just that's a title issue between two adjacent property owners. It's not something that I'm involved in, and I would have to defer to my client's other contract attorney on that matter.
Okay, I was just thinking that this might be an opportunity to resolve that by surrendering a couple of feet or something in the interest of.
Yeah, so typically that can be, generally what that's done is through what we call a boundary line adjustment. So we would surrender a sliver of property to them. So their building is all on their side of the property, and we do a boundary line adjustment where we agree on there's a new line between the properties, and that's generally how these things are done. I've seen things like perpetual easements to allow people to maintain their property. We certainly have enough property where we don't have to worry about a zoning nonconformity issue.
It just seems like this is a great time to clean up these kinds of loose ends.
Yeah, and that can happen during, around the closing process. So, after this matter, I'll touch base with Ms. Summers, who talked a little bit earlier, and there's another attorney who's handling the closing on the land on this property. I'm just sort of the land use attorney on this, and I'll have them take care of it. But yes, there is an apparent encroachment on 26 Boston Post Road. Their building hangs over our property line, apparently.
Okay. It's always nice when neighbors can settle these things.
Oh yeah, and
they don't get.
And you're right. When you have new owners coming in, this is the time to do that kind of stuff. Good call.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Bear with me. I got a couple more questions for you. So appreciate all the commentary around the traffic on Willits Avenue, and yes. I actually think the most important point made, Mr. Kelly, I believe it was people are going to try things, and it doesn't matter where you want people to drive; they're going to drive where they want to. I think he's right. People are going to come out onto Willits Street and think they're going to beat the traffic on Route 1 by going down Willits. That's going to fail the first time they do it, and they're never going to do it again.
Yeah.
So I think that's a totally valid point. That being said, I'm kind of concerned about the truck traffic that's going to get generated during the process of building this facility. And I'm wondering if it wouldn't make sense to consider having construction traffic access and egress during the building of this project to go through Route 1, through Boston Post Road. Because those trucks, they can't just start right up and race away like cars do. And so I guess I'd like to see some sort of consideration for either making all the truck traffic go onto Boston Post Road during the construction, or as a compromise to have no truck traffic during those peak hours in the morning or the evening. So I understand who traffic experts are, and I also understand that people who live on Willits Avenue are traffic experts in their backyard.
It's an interesting point. Let me, if I can, maybe we can have Ellen Bartlett talk about the construction sequencing. I just don't know the answer to how that would work, how it's laid out right now, and whether that's even viable. So maybe Ellen, if you're available, could you maybe just talk about have we envisioned how construction would work on this site, and where construction entrances would be, and where access would be? Can you talk to Mr. Chenard's comments at all? Is she available? Ellen? Okay. Oh,
I don't see her on anymore. Bill.
There.
She was on.
Oh, I see her now.
There I
Okay.
am. I couldn't unmute myself for a while.
It's okay. Ellen, did you hear Mr. Chenard's question?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute for whatever reason. Yes, I did. And I'm looking, we did an erosion control plan showing going early on construction, and we did have a construction entrance on both Boston Post Road and Willits Avenue, but there really isn't any reason that I see that we couldn't restrict construction trucks to only going out of Boston Post Road and restrict it on Willits Avenue during the construction.
During
You know, the
certain times.
site's
of the-
wide open enough. Yes, during peak hours, no trucks out of one, out onto Willits Avenue seems like a reasonable compromise.
So, thank you for that. I think this is a really important thing. I would also come back and say, when you guys are doing the utility work, you're gonna have to be on Willits working there. And this, my concern has nothing to do with that. You gotta do what you gotta do. But during other times, I think it would be a consideration for the folks on Willits if you could do have that restriction.
The only thing I would say with that, Mr. Chenard, is we've made a commitment to remove the spoils from the property within 90 days of approval. The majority of those spoils, as I understand it, are on the southern portion of the site near Willits. And so I expect that we will need to access the site from Willits to get to those spoils. So I just want that on the record because we will be doing that within the next 90 days, hopefully before the next 90 days. So I just want to put it on the record that because that would require us to do clearing from Boston Post Road to get to those spoils. So we will need to get through Willits to get to those spoils.
Fair is fair. I totally understand your point.
Okay, just want to be on the
So
record
yes,
on that
I'm
point.
glad that's in the record.
Okay.
So I'd like to talk briefly on page 4, the grading plan. With apologies, because it's really hard to interpret when you look at the contour lines, and right now I'm looking at the wider part of the parking area where you can see 96 feet, 94 feet, and then 92 feet. That all looks like it drains, more or less sheet drains across the parking area and potentially into the adjacent property. Is there actually some sort of slope within the 96 to 94 area, for example, that slopes the water toward that retention pool?
Yes, the contours are draining it directly towards that double catch basin in the corner that takes it to the basin. There's curbing on the access road, so the drainage can't go to the adjacent property. It has to go either that catch basin or in the bottom, it would go out onto the road, but that parking lot is graded to drain to that double catch basin number 5. And that will take it directly into the basin.
So for me to be clear on what you're saying, in the space, if you take just between the 96 feet and the 94-foot contours, obviously within that space, there's 2 feet of slope. That slope,
that's still a 5% slope.
It still slopes down within that space from the north side to the south side, so that that all the water there will drain toward the retention pond?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Because
yes, that's the steepest part. And that's only 5%. It's not the whole parking lot is not terribly steep, but it all drains down and is collected in a catch basin that takes it to the forebay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I have trouble visually seeing that.
There's a couple spot grades in there that show that. I don't know if you can see it. I had to blow it up, but there's some spot grades that show just what she just said.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I just want to make sure that I understand what is actually going on there.
Any more, Bert?
Yes. Sorry, I'm flipping pages.
Okay.
I'm looking at the landscaping. sheet number 6.0. Mostly, I think that the landscaping, the design and everything looks really terrific. I just had one concern from, if you're looking at the Willett Street on the west side, it looks like a row of arborvitae that goes up and then takes a left-hand turn. And then there's just occasional trees next to that go up around the next right angle turn to where the catch basin is. Is there sufficient foliage planned for that to shield the hotel from the property, the people that are living in those houses?
Yes, those are evergreen. They're spaced by the landscape art to provide this buffer.
Sorry, you're breaking up.
Am I breaking up? Can you hear me now? Oh, I'm out. My internet just went dead.
Can you, Bert, if I think Ellen is breaking up, but those are blue spruce in there. And I think they're spaced so that they have room to grow. I don't, I'm a planner before I was attorney, but I'm not a landscape guy. Or at least I knew enough to be dangerous when I was a planner, but I think they're spaced so those blue spruce have room to grow a little bit and so they don't get choked out. And so that's why there's a little bit spacing in there so that they can grow, and they're going to grow fairly tall. Let me just read the write up on them. My eyes aren't what they used to be. But the blue spruce are 8 to 10 feet tall at planting. So those are fairly big trees when they get planted. So, and they're going to get quite a bit taller as they go too. So I think they're going to have some width to them. You just don't want to choke them out and have them too close to each other.
Totally understand. Thanks for clarifying.
And that's why you have a little bit of spacing there. So you have arborvitae, but those are blue spruce on that hillside right there.
Okay. Very good. I'm done with my questions. Thank you. I really appreciate your consideration, especially with the construction vehicles during the building process.
Yeah, we're totally, I think that was a really good idea, Mr. Chonard. And, if Mark or John wanted to write that up as a condition of approval, we'll definitely work with the commission on that. I think it was a smart idea, and it's very reasonable, and we can work with you on that, along with the condition to remove the spoils within 90 days of approval. I think those are things that we can work with the commission on.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you, Bert. Is Attorney Avina available? He's in the back there.
Yep.
Is he? Hello. Are you able to just discuss for the commission a little bit about the spoils that we're talking about making a condition?
Sure. Attorney Rob Avina for the record, Town Attorney Waterford. We have been pursuing through our office removal of these particular spoils that have now been tested, I believe. There's nothing of a deleterious environmental nature, but they don't belong there. They never got a permit to be placed there, and they need to be removed. Because you on the commission are facing both a site plan and special permit for this particular project, it certainly gives you the legal right to condition any consideration you give to approve the project. Certainly in consultation with Nick Keppel, who worked on the file, and it's pending in Superior Court, the 90-day period suggested would work well with what the court intends to see, which is they were saying, can we resolve this in the next 3 months or so? And tonight is an indication to me that would happen. And we always look to try to take the enforcement actions in a way that we can get the problem solved. That's the key. So I think together with staff, we can work with that particular requirement.
Okay, and that is, that, just so everyone knows, that violation is not from the applicant, correct?
Correct. Thank you, Chairman Masad, for clarifying that. But my client has nothing to do with the violation, but we have voluntarily agreed to remedy it to resolve this issue for the commission because we want to develop this property.
Thank you. So that being said to everybody, does anybody have any questions on that issue for anyone? Or does the commission have any other questions now that we've went through everyone? No, okay. I'll wrap up our comments in terms of, I think it's a very nice proposal. I think it's a great team you put together as always, Attorney Sweeney. And I think with respect to the traffic, there will be a considerable number of people coming out of Willits that will go east toward New London as well, not contributing to some of the backlog that we have there. We presume that all that traffic would go west, but it might go east just as important. Especially if they're working at EB, they're going out to eat, going to the beach, doing something else. So they might be going at least
Without
half
a
a
doubt.
week.
Without a doubt.
And I personally like the 90-day condition that we can hopefully get approved for you, that you've agreed to. I'm just going to say we've had a irresponsible property owner for many years, and I think that having you buy this property and develop it will turn this into a good neighbor and something that's good for the town. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the meeting for the public hearing portion.
Public hearing. Okay. Motion made by Tim Condorino to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Greg.
Motion to close the public hearing made by Tim Condorino, seconded by Tim Bleasdale. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay. Any opposed? No. Okay. Let's just go right to number 5, application review. PL-23-16, request of Mondays LLC owner, 16-18 Boston Post Road Associates LLC, owner in Seven Hills Hospitality Group LLC, applicant for a site plan special permit approval for new hotel at 16 and 18 Boston Post Road and 295 and 313 Willits Avenue, CG zone in accordance with sections 8.2.6 and 23 of the zoning regulations, and as shown on plans entitled Woodspring Suites, 295 and 313 Willits Avenue, 16 and 18 Boston Post Road, Waterford, Connecticut, December 5th, 2023. Public hearing must close by 2/27/24, which that has already happened. So now we are in application review. Mark, do you have anything for us, or John?
Sure, I'd just like to briefly show the commission that we had received a staff report on this application with findings and conditions. I think what's important here is what I'd like to do is to go through the conditions of approval on this one. First of all, the first condition was that an annual maintenance and inspection report for the stormwater management system shall be provided to the Town of Waterford Planning and Development Department. This report shall be required to be submitted in order to verify that the stormwater management system is maintained and continues to operate as originally designed. Secondly, the zoning compliance chart shall be updated to reflect the correct total acreage of the combined parcels. This shall be shown on the final plans prior to filing on the land records. Third, in order to maintain the Willits Avenue extension access as a secondary access, there shall be no signage at that access point. And then there are 2 more conditions that I think we should consider as well. Condition number 4, which is a standard boilerplate condition when an application gets an approval also from the Inland Wetlands Commission, is that all the conditions and approval for the inland wetlands permit that was previously issued, C 23-09, all those conditions of approval shall be incorporated into this decision as it fully set forth herein. And condition number 5 addresses the spoils removal. And that condition would be that the spoils be properly removed and disposed of within 90 days of application approval. So those are the 5 conditions that I'm proposing on this draft report.
Okay, any questions, commentary on that? Now, this one, Bert and Doris, you're not available to participate in the deliberation. Any member of the commission have any comments, questions?
Sure. I'll make some comments if that's all right, Greg.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'll echo what other folks have said. I think cleaning up these properties and redevelopment that's been proposed is going to be a big improvement to the area. I think there's some additional conditions to what Mark had mentioned that makes sense, that I think sort of address issues that were brought up by several other people, including limiting access on Willets during the construction phase, except for removal of spoils and when it's necessary for the utility work, because I think the utilities are coming in from that side. But overall, I think this is going to be a positive development in this area.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Wait.
Yep, go ahead, Karen.
Sorry, Greg, this is Karen.
Right.
I'm trying a new device. I just want to repeat what some of the other commissioners have said. I think this is a really nicely designed project, and I think it would be a compliment to our town to add this.
Okay. Is there any other questions for anyone? From anyone? Okay, Mark, I have a question. Where would these materials, the types that they are, where would they go?
That's a good question. I think that's something that would there obviously have to be a manifest of some kind to have some sort of a paper trail as to where it gets disposed of properly. But there are, I can't really speak for the applicant as to where they plan on disposing of this. But certainly they do have to meet certain requirements and regulation in terms of proper disposal of any material, for that matter, whether it's the fill material that's there, boulders that they pick up, whatever they do. It does need to be disposed of properly, and that is really on the applicant and the contractor to make sure that they follow those requirements.
Okay, so my only comment on that would be that the requirement is that it's brought off site and proved to the town that they're disposed of properly, and that's only because I know that you've agreed to have it be a condition of your development, but that doesn't mean that you can't work something out with the property owner to have those done as part of the transaction. And I would want him to be recorded, the owner to be required to dispose of it properly, not just get it off site. So I think that it has to be removed from the site and prove to the town that it's disposed of properly to protect the town.
Sure.
Any other issues anybody has, or if anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion if nobody has any other comments.
I think we've heard Tim Condorino or Vic. We haven't heard from if they have any commentary.
No other comments from me.
Greg, I have no other comments.
Okay, thank you. All right, Tim.
Okay, I will move that we adopt findings 1 through 6 of our staff report and approve with modifications and conditions the site plan special permit for Wood Springs Suites Hotel application PL 23-16 at 16 and 18 Boston Post Road and 295 and 313 Willets Ave extension. Specifically with conditions 1 through 3 that are listed in our written report, and then additionally conditioned that all the conditions from the Conservation Commission be incorporated into this approval, and further that all dredging spoils and other illegally dumped materials be removed within 90 days of this approval and disposed of elsewhere in compliance with any and all applicable legal requirements for that disposal. And finally, that construction access be limited to in and out of Boston Post Road, except when necessary for utility work or spoils removal requiring access from Willets, but otherwise limited to Boston Post Road.
Is there a second on that motion? I'll second the motion. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, the motion's passed 5-0. Thank you. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the commission. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Greg, I'm having a little childcare issue upstairs, and I have to go to attend to that.
Okay.
And I will do my best to come back, but someone else might have to sit for me.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, let's see. Application review for PL-24-1 request of the Town of Waterford Board of Selectmen for municipal improvement in accordance with 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes to purchase property located at 8 Goshen Road.
Okay.
Mark?
Yes. Okay, I have also prepared a memorandum to the commission. This is an 824 application. 824 represents the Connecticut General Statute section number, which requires that the Planning and Zoning Commission review review anyway. In this particular instance, the acquisition of property for the town of Waterford. This property is a parcel that is residential parcel that's located adjacent to Great Neck School. It's on Goshen Road. And as part of this acquisition, if the town acquires the property, they will be incorporating this parcel into the Great Neck School parcel as well. This will allow for better, more even traffic flow and parking for the Great Neck School property. The added benefit as well is to essentially by incorporating this parcel into Great Neck School, it increases the security measures around the school, as opposed to having a residential property which has a single family home on it now, to be basically surrounded by the school property. So in order for the commission to render a decision in the positive, it needs to find that the acquisition, in this instance, the acquisition of the parcel is consistent with our current plan of development, the 2012 Plan of Conservation and Development. I have a series of findings here that find, number one, that the proposed acquisition, first of all, qualifies as an 824 review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Secondly, that the Great Neck Elementary School is a community facility. That facility is identified on the community facilities map contained in the 2012 Plan of Conservation and Development, which I've added as backup material to this memorandum. Thirdly, the addition of the parcel is consistent with the stated goal of the 2012 Plan of Conservation and Development in the Community Facilities chapter, in that it provides adequate services and facilities to meet the community needs. And fourthly, the addition of the parcel is consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development, in that it allows to monitor, is that the acquisition in the Community and Facilities chapter, the acquisition of a parcel is to monitor and adapt to the changing community facility needs. So with those, if the commission has any questions based on those findings, I'll certainly be happy to answer them as best I can.
Okay, seems pretty clear cut. Any questions from anyone? I see Tim Connerino shaking his head no. Okay. I sure hope they put a traffic plan together with this, because the traffic there is a disaster. I'm not sure if it's going to make it better, but would like to have seen a traffic rerouting plan before this, but from a planning perspective, but it's a pretty simple process for us at this point. Is there a motion? If we don't have any other questions, is there a motion? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve PL-24-1, request of the Town of Waterford Board of Selectmen for municipal improvement in accordance with Section 824 of the Connecticut General Statutes to purchase property located at 8 Goshen Road, based on the staff findings that we adopt as a commission, findings 1 through 4. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion made by myself, seconded by Karen. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, 4-0. Thank you. Let's go to the next one, PL-24-3, request of the Town of Waterford Board of Selectmen for municipal improvement in accordance with Section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes to purchase property located at 439 and 441 Boston Post Road, action required by 22724. Mark?
Yep, okay, this is similar to what we had just reviewed. This is still a property acquisition proposal for the Oswegatchie Firehouse property and the adjacent parcel that contains the parking lot for the firehouse. Those are two separate parcels adjacent to each other. The purpose of the acquisition is to bring the parcels into town ownership, so that we can then essentially rebuild the firehouse and be able to position the firehouse located on the property in a better configuration than what it is now. So that acquisition is in front of the commission. And again, there are findings relative to consistency with a plan of conservation and development. The first finding, similar to the previous application, is that the proposed acquisition is consistent or does qualify as an 824 review by the commission. The acquisition of the parcels is consistent with the plan of conservation and development in the community facilities chapter, again, by providing adequate services and facilities to meet the community needs. The addition of the parcel is consistent again with the community facilities chapter of the plan of conservation and development by the ability to monitor and adapt to the changing community facility needs. The acquisition of the parcels is also consistent in the fact that the community facilities and institutional uses will be encouraged and configured to enhance the overall community. And lastly, the future land use plan within the 2012 Plan of Conservation and Development identifies this parcels or these two parcels as institutional and community facilities. Anyway, so that certainly makes it consistent with the future land use plan. So with those, if the commission has any questions, be happy to answer.
Anyone have any questions on that application? If not, is there a motion? Okay, I'll make the motion to approve PL-24-3 request of the Town of Waterford Board of Selectmen for municipal improvement in accordance with section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes to purchase property located at 439 and 441 Boston Post Road, and further find that the commission accepts the recommendation of the staff in that the findings 1 through 5 are in support of this application. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by me, seconded by Tim. Is there any other discussion on this motion? I call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, all in favor. Thank you for that. Next is executive session. So we're going to need a motion to go into executive session for discussion on the following pending lawsuits entitled Koblich Brothers LLC et al., the Town of Waterford Planning and Zoning Commission, docket number KNLCB 12-6014470-S. Number 2, Koblich Brothers LLC versus Town of Waterford Planning and Zoning Commission, docket number KNLCB-12-6011799S. And number 3, Koblich Brothers LLC et al., the Town of Waterford Planning and Zoning Commission, docket number KNL-CB-12-6014469-S. We're going to need a motion to go into executive session for those matters, as well as making sure that we secure the Zoom meeting here for just Attorney Avina and staff and the commission members. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion to go into executive session.
Motion made by Tim Condorino. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion
So-
made Tim Condorino, seconded by Victor.
Question,
So I just want to read something. So the commission has voted to go into executive session. We will stop recording of the meeting.
John, we haven't voted. We haven't voted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
question,
Yep.
do alternates leave the meeting now?
I believe you should come in, but that's up to Attorney Avina, but I think you should.
Fine here.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it
thank you.
looks like the only person on the Zoom meeting that's not is Mr. Drainville.
Yes.
Yes, we'll take care of that.
Right. Okay, so we'd have to make a provision for that. Okay, so all in favor first of going into executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Okay. There you go, John.
Okay, so the commission has voted to go into executive session. We will stop recording the meeting and ask that all members of the public to leave the meeting. We'll also ask all the commissioners to please ensure that you are in a place where there are no others in the room to ensure the privacy of the executive session. And it appears that Mr. Drainville has left, and I am going to pause the recording now.
Okay. So the Waterford Planning and Zoning Commission has voted to come out of executive session at 8:39. No votes were taken. And that's the end of item 6. Number 7, administrative review.
No, we have nothing.
We open the
Do
public.
we have this calendar? Is that to be acted on, or that's just, we've already talked about that, right? This is just a notice for us?
Meeting calendar.
Yeah, right. That's all set. That's just for your records.
Right, we already did that. Okay, great. So any correspondence? Just that letter today, but that was made an exhibit, right?
Yep.
That's correct.
Okay. And any other commission business?
No, I just want to give you a quick update. Temple Bethel is looking to get their approval, Conservation Commission on Thursday. They produced a draft permit to act on. So I would anticipate they would be coming in front of the commission fairly soon for a site plan approval. This is on Kenyon Road, the new Bethel Synagogue to be located there.
Okay. One thing I want to just bring up, and we don't want any votes on it or anything, just a general consensus if we should be working toward this in the future. We were presented with that issue tonight where we had an applicant coming in for approval. The property was not in zoning compliance. We worked it out tonight. We gave a condition because the applicant was willing to do that. I think we should probably start to get a regulation in our or an amendment to our regulations to include something to the effect that if you come in with a property that's non-compliant, it's got to be in compliance before you come in for a special permit or a zone change or something similar to that. I don't know how the rest of the commission feels. I don't want to have John and Mark kind of work on that if that's not in anybody's interest, but you know, you can't register your car if your taxes are unpaid. You can't get a building permit if your taxes are unpaid with the town, but you know, you can come in with a property that we had tonight that's been in non-compliance for years, cost the town a lot of stress, aggravation, and time, and then ask us to help them develop the property. Like I said, tonight we had a developer who was willing to take that task on, but the property owner was not. So I don't know, should we have something like that in our regulations that you need to come in with clean hands?
I think it makes sense. I think it's a viable concern.
Yeah, I think it's a.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's an interesting idea. I think I want to think about it a little bit more too. I do kind of like that we're able to use conditions on a special permit to fix that this time, but we won't always have that option to use special permit conditions to clean something up like that.
Yeah, that was my concern. They were willing to address it head on, but I don't know that we're going to get that any other time, frankly. So is it something that we should try to draft and review? Is it something nobody has interest in? I like it. Tim Conrino likes it. Tim, you might want to see. Is that what you're saying? See how it's written or something like that?
Yeah, I'm open to it.
Okay.
All right, we'll work on it.
Okay, great. And we have a compliance with these zoning regulations. I think it's 3.1 or something like that. We should probably just add to that one, I would say.
Yeah.
So, okay. Nothing else? Anybody have anything else, or can we adjourn?
I do have one question. I know we received copies of the POCD. Is there a deadline for when we need to get? I know I haven't gotten my comments back, but I'm just wondering, is there a deadline that I should be shooting for?
I would say that not to add things to your plate or any of our plates, but we should probably be doing that sooner rather than later, including myself, because I think we have some major projects coming up that do we want to address those in the in the plan of conservation and development. We have the Civic Triangle, we have Crystal Mall, we have you know, data centers, Millstone properties, we have Maple Point, we have Seaside, we have all these different areas that we should probably get these addressed. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, so you know, as soon as practicable, not possible, but all right. Anything else for anyone? Okay, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Second.
Motion made by Tim and seconded by Victor. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Hey, Greg,
Have a good night.
Greg,
Thanks.
this is Bert. Greg,
Yeah,
I have a request. This is just a personal thing. Can we have a conversation? Can you call me or I can call you if you can give me your number or?
yeah, just, give me your
It's just
number.
It's 860-444.
This is recorded. I don't want you to put your number on that. Let me stop.
Well, we've
Thank you.
adjourned, so that's good.